I'll invite Phill Sexton up and he can introduce the panel, but Phill is, we all know him by now from today, but he's been a real force and a mentor for us here in Lake George. Has helped guide us, introduced us to Rock Hib and others. So again, we wouldn't be here celebrating if it wasn't for the work and guidance of Phill, who's obviously a great partner, but also a great friend. So, Phill.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, Marie, Jennifer, and John. Where are you? You're supposed to be sitting over here. While everybody comes up, by the way, for your question from Connecticut, I know a little bit about the Green Snow Pro as well, having worked with them really since the beginning. One small other fact that happened there was one of the House representatives that actually pushed the bill through at the last hour happened to own a landscape company. So that's how that happened. Do you know that part of the story, Dean? Yeah. So sometimes you just got to have a little luck too. So, but keep pushing. Okay. I have, I'll go in order here of seating. So my good friend Marie McMahon, or how do they say in Ireland now?
McMahon.
McMahon, right?
McMahon,
But
Ireland.
McMahon. I went to Ireland recently and we found out that that's how it's said there, right? Anyway, Marie alongside with her business and life partner Wes, who, am I allowed to tell everybody?
Yes.
That they just got engaged too. Woohoo! They've together cultivated a successful property caretaking business, both residential and commercial, in the Lake Placid region. They actually let me play around and plow some properties with them last year. That was fun. And the narrative of Marie joining Wes's pre-existing business in 2020 as a second career is a success story built on their shared values of authentic client relationships and environmental stewardship. So, and Marie and I have been, you'll hear a little bit more of the story, but we've been playing salt reduction and a little bit of almost chloride reduction at the Olympic Training Center. So I'm going to let Marie tell you more of that story. Next to Marie is Jennifer Clark. Jennifer and I got to be friends around
2020.
2020, yep. And Jennifer, was it two summits ago, earned, I traded these little awards, but she earned the No Excuses Award.
That's right, I did.
And you're going to learn why in a minute. But Jennifer's a local here to Lake George, proud local Lake George. She's been working at the fort here since 2019, right? And during COVID, she led the hotel conference center to begin following the swim standards here. And so you're going to learn a little bit more what they earned here at the end of the day today. But Jennifer really took on the task of physically implementing some of these standards herself, so that there'd be, again, no excuses to anyone else on the crew doing it. We're gonna meet them here at the end of the day.
Correct.
And then John and I have actually known each other for quite a long time, but then John, when he moved over to the University of Rochester, John currently oversees the grounds department there with a team of 40 professionals there, and is responsible for maintaining a nationally accredited arboretum across 450 acres. So I know you're very proud of that, John. And in addition to that, there's a fairly comprehensive winter management plan that's been going on there, including following the swim standards, which we started implementing about 3 years ago. Yeah. John asked to get some help for that. So we actually started with the 41.5 acre medical center there. And then John has a crew that's also overseeing an in-house crew of, how many miles of sidewalk is it at this point for
35.
Yeah, so 35 miles of sidewalk in addition to managing many different contractors, lots of loaders running around there, so it's a huge campus and a lot of exposure to liability and other kinds of things there as well. And I know you've got something you want to share there with us on. We have one slide for you on this that we'll pull up at some point. So I just thought I'll let our panelists just sort of continue their story, and John, we'll kind of go in reverse order. John, would you care to start with your story that you shared with us the other day?
Yeah. Oh, of like what kind of got me involved?
Yeah.
In this, yeah. So, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and right outside of the area. Rachel Carson grew up, and she wrote the book Silent Springs. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. As a second grader, we learned about that book. Our teacher read it to us and did the cliff notes, and it really just kind of hit me hard. My mom, she kind of had a horticulturalist background. So growing up, it was very important. We understood how important our waterways were and what we were doing. And I think out of college, I moved down south and I worked for a really large landscape company down there. And we were salting, right? We were doing a lot of that. And it started to click. Something started to click with me that there was no regulations. And in the DMV area in Maryland, I actually I had to have a license to put down fertilizer, even granular fertilizer. And I was like, well, what are we doing here in the wintertime? And I don't know if we ever want to get to that point, because then people will just do it without a license. And just from hearing today, I started to realize I think I'm learning a lot. But we're kind of doing the same thing as DDT. And then we learned DDD was kind of what was better than DDT, and it was the same issue. And I just feel like we're at that brink where we haven't bridged that gap yet, but there's something there that I think we're doing that's really wrong, to the point where reversing that is going to take a lot more. And there's not really another product that we can use that's reasonable. So thresholds need to be adjusted. And as you mentioned, attorneys need to understand that we can't chase ambulances, and there needs to be some type of coverage, or else we're just going to keep doing it. Or private contractors are going to lose the ability to be insured. And that's what's driving up our price right now. We're lucky we're self-insured at the university, but it's tricky right now. And I just feel like we're going in the wrong direction.
What's the reason, John? So it's interesting. We started deploying the swim standards at the medical center of all places. So if you can think of one place that's probably highest exposure to liability risk, you don't want any slip and falls. What made you decide to start there?
So we, back in 2019 when COVID hit, we used to contract out all of our hard surface plowing, except for the sidewalks. That was our team took care of. So there were 14 of us. So we have been growing that department. And COVID actually, we were not allowed, the university was like, yeah, maybe we should bring stuff in-house. What's the cost analysis? How much more will it cost us? What's the liability? So as a team, with those 12 individuals, myself and our supervisor, we determined, like, let's go with the hardest place. Like, I don't want a contractor doing that. That's where we should be. So that's where we started. And we started out with not having any salters. So I think that was one of the best parts for us, is we were able to say, if we're going to do this, and we were given the right amount of time and the funding to do it, it was essentially ended up being a zero cost because we took our contractor cost. Brian was there. I didn't really understand it, but I knew I was going to have to understand it. So that's what we started doing. So that's when we started looking at units that would kind of be all in one, the brine, the salt, the pre-wetting. And then we started to learn how to make our own brine. And for us, it was like, well, if I'm doing this, I'm going to reach out to Phil, because if we're going to be doing it right, I might as well get accreditation for it. So that's kind of where it started. But we didn't want to go with the easy way. We wanted to learn at the hardest place where you can't fail no matter what. And my team wanted to start there too. And I think that's where it was like, that's what kind of made sense to me. And that's where I knew we could have the support of it. Because our team said, let's go there, not there. Let's go to the hardest spot. That's what we did.
Can we take a look at that slide with the chart? Yeah. So John, your chart's up here. So,
oh yeah, okay.
Because one of the things I'll add to that, because I have to admit, when we first discussed starting this at the medical center, I was maybe slightly apprehensive, like, be sure you want to start there first? So, so you convinced me as well. But so I always think about unintended consequences. So what does it look like today, you know, from a slip and fall standpoint? And I thought it's very interesting how the university measures this.
Yeah, so this is actually, we measure this ourselves. I made this chart. Our environmental health and safety department, any slip and fall has to be submitted through them. They have to track it and know what's going on. I would like to say I started at the university in 2016, so let's just put that out there. So this is a very unique truck where actually what this doesn't show, and what we have is background data here. As you can see, obviously the trend is good, or else I wouldn't share it. The background data behind it is what this doesn't show. It doesn't show the acreage that was added. As a university, prosperity is a beautiful thing. In the medical centers, prosperity is a great thing. And we've just grown. We've added, which isn't even that 490 acres or whatever number I gave you, we've actually added 115 acres of hard surfaces over the past 2 years. Those are off-site properties that we still track all slip and falls. So we've added that, and we've been able to reduce our slip and fall count. What this shows is, and I saw a lot of data up here, and it's funny, you try not to poke holes, but sometimes it's out of respect. You could say, yeah, last year I used 40% less salt than this year. It's like, well, how much snow did you have? Did you measure the amount of snow that you actually had? Or how many events did you have? So we actually track our events also. So events for like last year we had 88.6 inches of snow, but we actually had 72 events. What do we count as an event? That's when we send the team out. It could be 4 people, it could be the whole team, but we count every single event also, because as you guys know, I mean, you can have a 20-inch snowstorm, and hopefully you only salt it 3 times maybe if you're lucky, because you're just plowing. Like you're not catching up. If it's a 2 inches an hour, an inch an hour, what are you salting? You might be salting like that hill, maybe the unsafe areas. So that's what we actually, so this data is good, but we have more data that shows how many events we have, along with our salt usage is based on the year, right? But we're looking at, well, how many events do we actually have, and how much snow do we actually have that fell? So I take this information, then I add the other information to see, did we actually reduce our salt usage? Or did just the environment reduce it for us?
So where would you say, what's the number one, call it best practice or policy that you'd say is giving you the biggest bang for your buck right now, salt reduction wise? If
it's snowing, our team is here. We're not waiting. Okay. And that's been the biggest thing for us.
So it's response, actually.
Yeah, response. If we're behind, I think we all know what the trick is whenever you're behind to get caught up. Turn the salter up, drive as fast as you can to get it down. Our job, if we know, and I think one of the best things is weather forecasts are fairly accurate. Like you're not really, I mean, we've woken up a few times with like, shit, it snowed. Sorry, I'm not from Massachusetts, but I can still swear, right? You're like, oh man, it snowed. And it's just one of those things, like we have lake effect a lot, and that does definitely come around and get us. But we have 24 coverage, so we always have somebody at the shop. And if it's gonna snow, we know. We also have cameras, which are great. But it's been, the best practice has been not getting caught with your pants down, not doing the turn like shit, or get off the pot, you gotta turn the salter on, you gotta go. It's been try not to be as reactive as possible. And that's where we learn. And then what we've also done, I think where that goes hand in hand is we actually have tracking on all of our salters, so we know how much salt goes down at any given moment, and it's live tracking. So what we'll do at the end of the storm, I'll actually hear team members start competing with each other. Like, well, I was at 20% rate, what were you at? Like, well, I was at 10%. Like, well, I was at 20% then. So I've started to notice over the past 5 years where we've been using these units is now we're getting down to like 7%, 8% salting. And that's no matter how much snow is coming down. Well, I don't want to say it that way, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, they've been able to do it because we're plowing first, no matter what. We're not salting away snow. And I think that was one of our biggest wins is really, to manage it, you need to know the numbers. You can't really manage it without knowing the numbers. So that now it's active data that the team can look up as they're going to, like at the end of the storm, they can look up that information, but they see it right there on the dash, so they know what they're doing. And that's been, I think, where we noticed it goes hand in hand.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Breathe. Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you share us a little bit of your story?
How we
getting
started
into
here
this?
at the fort?
Yeah.
We started with a lovely little push behind a piece of equipment that Phil brought us back in 2020. Back then we had the Best Western Hill, which was wonderful. I would
Anybody
get,
knows this hill, but it's, you know,
it's the one right off the Northway, and it kind of goes up, but we always had problems with our guests getting stuck on the hill,
Yeah.
going in and out. So Phil got us this piece of equipment after my first summit, and I went with
had I
it.
known it was going to be pushed up a hill by Jennifer, I would have tried for something better, by the way.
It's all good, it's all good. So yeah, I went with it. And since then, I've been coming to all the summits. In 2023, we invested in a small 100-gallon tank from the Ice Depot. We have it on the back of our gator, and the guys try to get down the treatment before the storm comes, and we have noticed a difference in, you know, it all depends on what kind of snow we get too. Last year was a little very wet season, but otherwise it's been doing good. We've moved on to make sure we get the parking or the sidewalks treated with the magnesium. We have somebody go around with the hand sprayer, so we are using the different types of brine to make our property
Oh, you
safe.
mean you're actually the chloride-free brine that
Yes.
you're using, yeah.
Yep.
So that's the potassium formate, yeah.
Oh, you are
Yep.
using-
Yes, yep,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
works well.
So, and what difference have you seen there with the use of the brine on the sidewalk? Anything?
I think the guys are noticing that it's not building up as much ice on it. I'd have to ask them
Okay.
what they noticed last year.
Yeah, I know that one issue y'all had too was just tracking material in the building, and that seemed to have
Yes, we've
rectified
noticed
itself.
the tracking of the salt into the buildings, into the tile, into the carpet is
Yeah.
decreased.
And I was here meeting with, I saw some of your team is in the back of the room here. Hi, everybody. We talked a little bit also, maybe you can help represent, but we talked also something a bit more that I wasn't aware you were implementing more, which is broom technology.
Yes, we are utilizing the sweeper on our Kubota, and a good portion of our snow removal is done with the sweeping.
Okay, yeah. Can you help, or if anybody there wants to describe to, can you help how that? So where we're talking about though is really right outside in these parking lots here. So it's kind of an interesting example of. So I heard that you're actually using the brooms in the parking lots.
Yes,
so.
in the parking lots. It cleans it right up good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So is there brine going down before you're brooming, or how does that work?
Usually they try to get it down, like if we know there's a storm coming in, like 6 a.m., they'll try to
Okay.
get out there the day before and get
Yeah.
a layer down.
So you're actually putting it down with your little 100-gallon sprayer, yeah. And that's in the back of a UTV?
In back of a John Deere Gator, yep.
Yeah, okay. How often, I'm curious, how big's the parking lot? How often are you filling that up?
Michael?
I think 100 gallons does it.
Yeah, you can give him the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, give the mic to Mike.
I think 100 gallons does it.
Okay, so 100 gallons. So do you assume you have about a couple acres then? Yeah, and then, yeah, go ahead.
I'd say a couple acres.
Yeah. So, really the point there is, I think we think about this in terms of, I was having a chat with someone outside during the demos, and Sean from Granite State and De-icing Depot and those guys, I mean, they have a trailer full of stuff. And yeah, you could easily spend a couple $100,000, but you could also spend less than 4, and sometimes even less than 2, and just to get started. And even that, what Jennifer's describing originally was a 12-gallon push-behind battery-powered sprayer that the reason, Jennifer, you got the No Excuses Award is she used that on that hill at the Best Western, and that's
Correct.
what helped prevent the bond.
Yes.
So we can start small, right? So, and for some practitioners in the room that may seem obvious, and I think maybe what's not as obvious though is even at from a residential homeowner setting, there's lots of these simple things that we can do, hand cans, backpack sprayers, just small things like that, right? So is there anything else you want to share with us now?
Nope, I just.
I'm sure there'll be another question in a minute or two.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, Marie.
So I met Phil February of 2023, I believe it was, February 2023, and it was shortly after the story you heard on the video, and it was a huge impact. I mean, it was stopped me in my tracks. Oh my gosh, the realization that I was contributing to the problem instead of the solution. And in that moment when I realized they had used that 50-pound bag of salt on 418 feet of boardwalk, I mean, it was there was a paradigm shift that occurred, and I literally stood in that parking lot and I made a vow to myself that I would always be part of the solution and not the problem. And so I was determined there's got to be a way to go chloride free completely. And I met with Phil, and Phil's like, pull back the reins, hold on, you got to start small. And so it came out in a conversation that we were actually the contractors that took care of the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid. And so he came on site, and we designated a test zone where we would use entry, or the potassium formate, and then slowly but surely expanded on the rest of the sidewalks. From there, and that was a hand sprayer. And I forgot how many square feet of sidewalk offhand OTC is. Went from there, and then what we did was we purchased a mini Bobcat, the MT100, with a broom. And we did use the broom on the sidewalks and on the edge of the curbs on the parking lot and in a couple key areas where there were drainage issues, ice accumulation. This year we've purchased, interesting, last year we observed that on the backside of the property where the dorms are, the wind pattern literally changed last year, and we were having horrific issues with drifting. Like, we had never had those issues before, and we had significant drifting in a couple entrances. So this year we purchased a snow blower attachment. I don't know if you know that, but a snowblower attachment to go on the Bobcat so that we can deal with the drifting much more efficiently and effectively. This year, we are making the leap. We're getting cameras on the property, and Wes just replaced his truck with a new F350, and we're going to brine, and that's our goal for this year. So leaning on this guy to help guide the way.
And actually,
So, yeah.
one other thing I know of that too. So the other opportunity is a lot of the sort of traditional spreaders, hoppers. You know, there's things that we can do now. We've talked about this with their operation, where you can have a combo unit. So it's salt hopper, pre-wetting, direct liquid application, and then even including what Rock Kib and Viesis offers, it's an aftermarket product, so where you can actually turn, you know, any of the traditional controllers, which is really just controlling a spinner and a conveyor. You can actually now control it with ground speed. So that's really that's a very new option for the private side of the industry that's not been available. So, you know, DOT, you know, has the sophistication to be able to control their rates. A lot of the other municipals do, so that's not really been readily or affordably available to private contractors. Really, it's been only a couple of years that it's out in the market now. So that's going to be exciting new innovation that I think is going to even drive further reduction. Yeah.
So not only am I involved with the OTC, or the Olympic Training Center, but a new project that I started just out of a casual conversation with someone, was getting involved with Northwood School. And Marcy Fagan, who is the teacher for the Adirondack Science class, just happens to be a member of the Mirror Lake Watershed Association, and I happened to they had invited me to give a talk about salt reduction efforts that we were implementing at the Olympic Training Center. And Marcy reached out and said, would you be interested in giving a class for the kids in her class? Well, that just blew up. And so last year was year 0, and so this is what we did. I went in for 3 different classes, taught the kids just basic principles of mechanical preventing the bond versus having to break the bond chemically, divided the class up into groups. Each team of 2 people took on a sidewalk as their own responsibility, and what we had them do was to collect data. We actually I went out with them, looked at each of the sidewalks, and applied what they had just learned in class to be able to identify some of the obstacles and the considerations that they were going to have to take in maintaining the sidewalk. That was year 0. They went from, I just confirmed this with Scott, they went from using a pallet of salt, so as you know, a pallet, usually I believe it's 49 bags, to less than a quarter for the entire year.
So 1 ton to a quarter ton, basically, yeah.
And we went, and we had a lot more snow in Lake Placid than we had in previous years. This was considered a normal winter. Just with a few-minute conversation with Scott, who's the grounds person, just teaching him just very basic stuff, he went from 4 tandem loads of sand salt down to less than 1.
For the entire season?
For the entire season on their entire property. So now people are starting to take notice, and now we're just going to up the game even more. So I'll be getting into the class here next month. Actually, I'll start teaching the new class, and we're going to get the students collecting more data. And yeah, I'm hoping to collaborate with Allison and.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in your collaboration panel, but I was thinking Allie and Jennifer. So it just seems like that's an interesting model that maybe could be taught to take to the school.
And so the ultimate goal is to be able to have the students themselves present to the Village of Lake Placid, who has had some resistance to the idea of reduction using brine, et cetera, as Phil knows. So we want to be able to do this year after year, have the students be collecting the data, create a solid foundation of data that they can then go back to the town and present.
Very cool.
And so that's what we're doing right now.
Excellent. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. Yeah, that's a neat new, I think, sort of initiative that maybe that's part of where we take the next 10 years. We're going to the schools.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a few minutes left. I'm curious, John, maybe start with you again. Any impediments or any constraints you see moving forward, and if so, what would that be?
Definitely, there's the contractor aspect where we are. We have contractors that want to be involved and learn brine, and we're encouraging it, but it's hard to convince a contractor to make the investment, right? And not just the investment, but also taking a chance of failing. And it's hard for me to say, yeah, go ahead and fail on my property. So, I want you guys to figure it out, and I don't mind being your test dummies to try this area, but I think that was the hurdle. But I think we were able to overcome that by starting to when we put our property out to bid, we kind of chose contractors to bid that we knew would invest in this. And that very much dwindled it down to only a couple contractors. And then we were able to commit to a 5-year contract with them. And I'm sure some of you contractors out there would appreciate that. As a private entity to say, hey, I want you to invest in this brine, come on, let's do it. They're like, well, you gave me a 1-year contract, what are you thinking? So that I think that was our biggest impediment, and we started to find ways around that. And it took a lot of my own lobbying for the university to accept that. But they did, and it didn't take too much. It was just kind of that, if we want to work together, we need to be also working with our contractors, not asking them to do everything and take on the risk and then walking away if they fail. So,
And that's where you're in a unique position. You're both the service provider in this case, and you're also the customer. So it's a unique perspective that's very, very valuable, I think, for us to learn from. And Marie, I know just knowing enough about the Olympic Training Center, I mean, I think I heard from them a lot of support. As long as it doesn't cost me more money and it doesn't increase my liability. So how do you think we're doing with that so far?
Oh my gosh. You know, it goes back to relationships, right? I mean, yes, there's a business aspect of it and the litigation and the liability, et cetera, but they see us making the effort. They see us experimenting. They see us going above and beyond. I mean, yes, we need to sit down and have that conversation that the potassium formate is a lot more expensive than the chloride, but we've been using it. They see the benefits of it. I think at this point they can track. In terms of the interior, the infrastructure of their buildings, they're not having to put as much money into repairs, et cetera. So I'm hoping that all plays into the
I mean, cost certainly
picture.
plays a role. I think we can agree, right? It's just how do we put a value on it beyond the material, right? So
I mean, in this case, I think because we're going brine, we're moving away from sand. They're not going to have the cleanup costs, right?
Right.
So if we highlight that, and of course I can tell them exactly what they paid us to do the spring cleanup. So, you know, take that money and invest it in the
cool.
entry. So
Jennifer, where do you think you're taking things next?
I think we should invest in some more equipment for the guys to make sure they can do the job properly and keep this parking lot.
Guys, what equipment you want?
Yeah, and your tractor.
A grill.
Oh, they want my tractor, yeah. What's that? Yeah. Well, actually, interestingly enough, if you don't mind me sharing, one of the things we just did recently with the Fora was we came up with we created a chart or a matrix that actually sort of behaves like a wish list to say, because I think that's sort of the point. It's like, we don't have to go all Monty all in at once, right? So it's like, you know, it's one small step. So the conversation again I had out next to Sean's trailer was, you know, if you bought everything in this trailer, sure, you'd be set up great. But you could start with just this 100-gallon sprayer, to your point, and you know that's essentially how you all started, right?
Correct.
And you've actually made a lot of inroads just with, you know, being lean with the operation. Right. So proud of you all for doing that. I'm gonna call this a wrap, except for let's have any questions from the audience if there are any.
Marie, I want to know how good of an operator Phil was. Really? He's up there talking a lot about it.
yeah, no, there was a lot of attention to detail. A lot of attention to detail.
That means you were
it's great.
slow. That means you were slow. Just so you know.
I didn't say that attention
Guilty
to
as
detail.
charged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. All right.
No, it was a big help.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you get any pushback from your team for changing things? I don't like my.
Oh, pushback from the team for change. Right. Was there any pushback from the team?
In the beginning.
Team,
In the beginning.
was there any pushback?
Well, Mike is a kind of a newbie to it. So, but our old team, we have some newer employees in the maintenance department, but some of the older employees were, you know,
Set in their
they
ways.
weren't a willow they would not bend. So
Oh.
it was
Okay.
a struggle at first, but they're coming around to it.
Okay. Were there any, I mean, I know, like, John, I think for you, I mean, it sounds, I'm going to speak for you maybe for a second, but it sounds like all the way up to the president of the university, there's support, right? And it seems like that's a help.
Yeah, that was helpful. We did have pushback individually from some of our team members. I think what kind of broke that barrier was we started off slow. We just started with 200-gallon tanks, and we just started off doing sidewalks, and we made ice the first time. And we just owned it. I mean, I owned it. I was like, yeah, I have no idea how that happened,
Dean
but
saying, uh-huh.
we screwed up.
Yeah. It's real.
But I think there was, after that, it kind of like, then, honestly, after that happened, there was buy-in. I think it was just like, we're all in this.
Well, you know,
And
you can tell the change immediately.
yeah,
Like, when you start using brine, and we did the same thing, we started on sidewalks, because granular is kind of messy, and it leaves spots, and it doesn't, you know, it's not a clean surface right away. When you start using brine, like, a light snowfall will be gone.
yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
it's immediately noticed.
And that we're an arboretum too. I mean, our team is very proud of that, and we do all the restoration. Graduation, commencement week is May 20th, so we have like 3 weeks to get everything cleaned up and make it look like it's midsummer. So it's definitely like an intense period. So they've come to appreciate the cleanup is less, and we don't have as much burned grass on the edges. And no, I mean, salt's just not, it's tough. Walking on it, tracking it everywhere, so having that reduction was good.
All right, well, thanks to all of you for what you're doing. You're leading. Everyone in this room, I believe, is leading, so thanks for that. And really, you're helping to carry this forward to the private side, so thanks for your help. Okay, that's a wrap.